Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a solid gauge on where I was going when I was coming out in 2000. I had conversations with Parcells, and he kind of let me know that, listen, that you and Bubba Franks at the tight end position, we like you. With one of our 4 picks, we're going to take you. So, I felt pretty comfortable by their last of their 4 first-round picks at 27 that I was going to be off the board. So, look, it was a lot longer in between picks than it is now. So it moves pretty swiftly. But, like you said, I think this year there's really no decisive, 1 through 32. So I feel like, a lot of guys could get surprised that they're going to go in the first round. And a lot of guys might, be thinking, well, we might get bumped down for some reason because of those surprises. So I think there's a lot of question marks, and I think there'll be a little more stressful times for some of these young men that are coming into the draft this year.
And what give us an indication of Lovie Smith's thinking right now in that Tampa Bay organization. A lot of people just assume Winston's the best quarterback in this draft, that he would be the guy. Some people, we had Josh McCown on before he left Tampa, and he said, I can't imagine Lovie taking a guy like Winston. So that kind of put a little wrench in it for us. What do you think about Tampa's spot right now at number 1?
I think Josh made that statement not having any information or had any prior investigation about Winston. I mean, listen, they've done their due diligence on trying to figure out, is this kid worthy of a pick? Is he not worthy of a pick? Followed them, had them, tail, whatever you want to do to find out everything about him. I think the football tape is there, and it's an easy question. But when you talk about everything else, they have to be sure. And I think right now Winston's going to be the pick. The only thing that would change that is if, San Diego Chargers want to offer a sweetheart deal and offer Rivers and a first-round pick and some other picks, take that number 1 spot. That would be the only change for me. Other than that, I don't see any surprises at number 1. I think right now I feel there's a comfortability with them and ownership that if they go with Winston and take him, that he's the quarterback that can lead this team moving forward.
Anthony Becht's with us here. He does pre- and post-game coverage of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football on 620 WDAAE in Tampa. All right, and, Marcus Mariota, though, his name's being mentioned here a lot. Do you think there's this outside possibility that Tampa's just kind of keeping him in the weeds and that he would be their pick? Or is he just not a fit and just not the right guy for them?
Yeah, I think he can fit. I don't think he's not the right guy. I just feel like, Winston gives you a better chance. But, when you talk about, how far away from each other are they, I don't think it's that big of a distance. I just think right now Winston's ready to jump in and have earlier success as far as, getting the schemes and the pro-style ready offenses and everything that they kind of do now than Mariota, where, let's not be naive. I mean, a lot of his passes were predetermined. Gets the ball out of his hands, make the pass. He was very smart with the football. So, I would say, right now, I don't see anything shocking. If they did take him, Mike, though, I wouldn't sit there and be like, wow, I'm shocked, because I don't think he's that far off. I just think Winston right now, bearing anything, is the better quarterback.
All right, do you look at Tampa, do you think at this point, Ant, that they are locked in to that number 1 spot? You mentioned if somebody wows them, but do you think ultimately they want to get a quarterback and draft their guy number 1?
I think the Chargers are really the only team. No one else is willing to give up a starting franchise, quote-unquote, caliber quarterback to just walk away. Chargers, I don't even think want to do that either, but you're talking about an older quarterback who's got some years left that, I don't know, where they are as far as being on the same page. We hear a lot of different things. Maybe he needs to change his scenery. You don't see the type of playmakers around him that he had earlier in his career there with Damian Tomlinson and some of the receivers and Vincent Jackson. So this might be a time for the Chargers. I think that's the only real phone call that they're going to take seriously. Other than that, I haven't heard another quarterback that's going to be out there that can really be a game changer for the Bucs.
Anthony Becht's with us here, was a first-round pick of the Jets, and, of course, now doing pre- and post-game analyst of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on 620 WDAE here on 97.3 ESPN. The Bucs have the first pick in the draft. The Eagles have the 20th pick in the draft. There's a lot of talk about them moving up here. Overall, I know you see a lot of college football and get into this draft here. If you're Philadelphia at 20, do you think it is worth moving up for a Mariota or any player in this particular draft, where they stand at 20. A lot of people think, well, you can't really get the guy you're looking for at 20. You might want to move yourself up, especially with Kelly, who is just kind of, marching to the beat of his own drum right now.
When I look at this draft, I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's many players in my mind that are true first-round talents, especially as far as what their needs are. I just don't know if they can climb that high enough to get Mariota. Now, if Mariota slips and he passes the Jets and he passes the Redskins, and all of a sudden now there's a couple teams there that have locked-in quarterbacks, you got an opportunity there. So that's the only way it happens. So it's going to be of the day in those picks. He gets passed. Now you have some flexibility to potentially put some offers out there. But then again, how much are you willing to give up? You've already gotten rid of a lot of your keynote players over the last year and a half. Do you really want to dismantle some other pieces? I think defensively right now, in the offensive line, with some guys leaving, some releases, the secondary not being quite where it needs to be, I think those are some places. Obviously, it's not sexy for Chip Kelly because he wants as many weapons as possible. That you're going to have to secure those positions to try to get better somewhere on the defensive side of the football.
Give me a couple of your favorite players in this draft.
Top to bottom?
Yeah, just guys that, if your team ends up with a couple of these guys that you should be excited. We got a very mixed bag, mostly Eagles fans down here, but you get those random Cowboys and Giants fans that live in this area too. So everybody kind of likes to hear a player. If this guy ends up on your team, who are some guys, maybe some sleepers, some big names that you think are going to be good pros?
Well, a couple big names. I think from the defensive end, outside linebacker, rush linebacker, I think there's a lot of busts coming out of this draft. I'm not quite sold on names like Randy Gregory and Vic Beasley. I just don't see these guys coming in and being that wow factor. I am a big fan of Dante Fowler out of Florida. I think he's a very good player, quick, strong, high effort, high motor, just gives it to you every snap. Shane Ray's another guy out of Missouri. He's not a big guy, but he played at a rate that, he can build on, where these other guys like Randy Gregory and Beasley are trying to gain weight, which it's not going to stick. 245 is where Shane Ray played in college, so right there is his base point. So I think you're going to get some value out of him on the defensive side. When you look at offensively, a lot of different tackles, a lot of people calling it different names here. Now, I think Eric Flowers from Miami, I think he's a sure lock for sure thing. Big, strong, athletic. He's really a nasty player, a guy that's going to, just go out there and do the dirty work, but he's really athletic. He's got a little technique problems with his feet, but he's so athletic that he can make up for it. So look at long arms, guys that can step in and really be a factor. I think it's deep. When you look at tackles and offensive linemen, I think it's deep second, third, fourth round. So I think there's a lot of true value players that you can get. I think a lot of teams, unfortunately, are going to be forced to take players in the first round because they're just names or they're there. I think Jalen Collins, cornerback from LSU, tall, strong, lengthy cornerback, a lot of speed, will come up and make tackles on the edge, but he'll play one-on-one in-your-face coverage. I think he's a guy that can help an Eagles defense. I think Gerard Holloman out of Louisville, if you're talking about guys that need to be, up strong in coverage, a guy that can stretch the field side to side, understands cover two, understands spaces and rotations. This kid is just unbelievable, and he's got the interceptions, and I'm not just going off that. I called several Louisville games, and this guy he's got a knack for reading route combinations, not being fooled by quarterbacks' eyes. People take him in the third round, second round. I think he's going to come to a team, and he's going to help you right now.
Let me ask you real quick about Landon Collins. He's a safety, maybe the best safety, and should be around that 20 area. A lot of Alabama safeties have not translated well. What's your thoughts on Collins in the pros?
I worry about his coverage skills. Let's be honest. Those in the box, strong safeties that come up, make those big hits, those guys that, make those big hits, crossing patterns, they're kind of a dying breed. It's tough, one, for them to operate because of the rule changes. And two, coverage, it's a passing league now. You got to be able to get back in coverage. You got to be able to run that second half of the defense. I'm not quite sure those Alabama safeties, you look at the past, the Mark Byrons who was here, and the Clinton Dixes. Those guys, I think they struggle pass coverage. And I think Collins is another one that is a little has a little bit of a wayside on that coverage ability. So when you look at him, he's a complete player. He can do a lot of things. I just don't see him being a great cover guy And I think this league, that's what teams want when they're looking at strong safeties.
Talking with Anthony Becht here. He was a first-round pick of the Jets, played for the Bucks, Rams, Cardinals, Chiefs, and WVU, where he got drafted in the first round. He's now the co-host of the Bucks pre- and post-game show on 620 WDAE in Tampa. And he's also coming home. He's a local guy, and you'll have your Philly football camp June 29th through July 1st. And tell a lot of the football players in our area how they can get better by coming to your camp.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's my 10-year anniversary, and it's been just a stellar run for us. You know, I've worked with over 1,000 kids in grades 1 through 8, Mike, and, you know, we've brought in over 75 NFL football players in my town, right outside of Philadelphia, Delaware County, at Bonner Prendergast High School. It's June 29th to July 1st, 9 to 3. We have over 30 sponsors. We feed them. We give them prizes. They get shirts. It's really a one-stop shop. It's really the best value, I think, out there. Not only to get your kids to understand the game of football, they're going to learn all the positions, but to learn a little bit about life, learn a little bit about growing up, being a strong, high-character young man. These NFL players, they come in, and it's not just a one-on-one work they get on the field. It's the talks they have with the kids. We take some time at lunch to have these players either talk about their experiences growing up. Some of these kids can relate to what some of these players have gone through and don't know their stories. And then, we always bring up other topics: accountability, responsibility, respecting your parents, academics, sportsmanship, hard work, sacrifice, not having things handed to you, and go out there and earn everything. So these are things that kids, I think, are lacking and they need. So we just continue to churn that out every year. I love it. I think it's a great week. You go to Anthony Becht, BECHT, footballcamp.com, brand new website. We got early bird sign-up specials. It's really the best 3-day camp for its value, price, and experience that you can have.
Yeah, Anthony Becht, footballcamp.com. Check that out. He's at Anthony_Becht on Twitter as well for more information on the camp. And Philly guy living in Florida. It was good to catch up with you down there in Clearwater Beach. And, man, the weather is so much nicer down there. How would you not want to come home, man?
I'll tell you, you know what? After the months of April, I might step back into the Philadelphia area and say hello. Other than that, man, that sun's it's too hard to let go.
All right. Well, when you're back in town, I know you said you were heading back up here. Let's try to catch up. That was fun down in Tampa watching the NCAA tournament. And we'll talk some more during the football as we get a little closer here, man.
You got it, Mike. Take care, man.